Okay.
This has got an upgrade.
You didn't know.
Okay, it's 5:30 on January 2nd, 2024. We're going to be calling the regular meeting of the Sequim Planning Commission to order. The land that we know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as the S'Klallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Lower Elwha S'Klallam, Jamestown S'Klallam, and Port Gamble S'Klallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Sequim with the same care and consideration the S'Klallam tribes has and continues to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the S'Klallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Sequim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Sequim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all of the powers and perform each and all of the duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance. Roll call. Emily, will you please take roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Carter,
Present.
Commissioner Kuntz,
Present.
Commissioner Cummings,
Here.
Commissioner Fain,
Present.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Chair.
Commissioner Mahalik.
And Commissioner Mahalik is present.
She's
She
here.
is, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes. At this time, does anybody have any discussions or corrections for the minutes for our last regular meeting, which was December 5th, 2023? Okay,
I move we approve the minutes as written.
okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, minutes stand approved. Okay, public comment. At this time, general public comment will be heard. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. For those wishing to speak on public hearing topics, please hold those comments until that portion of the meeting. Excuse me. Do we have any public comment at this time?
There's one person online, Cindy. If you'd like to speak, just general public comment, or if you're just here to listen, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the room that would like to provide public comment at this time? No? Okay. Let's move on to general business. New business. We are in our first meeting of the year, and so we need to elect a chair for the 2024 year and then also a vice chair. So do we have any nominations? You can nominate yourself. Alex?
I nominate Julianne Kuntz for another term as chair.
Thank you. I accept that nomination.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of Julianne Kuntz chairing 2024, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, thank you. I did it. Okay. Vice chairs, is there anybody interested in being the vice chair or any nominations at this time?
Who's vice chair now?
Karen?
Karen. Well, as it seems like, it seems like you both have only been in your positions for a few weeks because last year went so fast. If she agrees, I'd like to nominate Karen Mihalik for a second year as vice chair.
Karen, are you interested in accepting that nomination?
Discussion.
Okay, let's have discussion on that.
Elaine, would you be interested? Mhm.
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to defer, and if you would, I'd like to nominate Elaine.
Second.
Second, okay. So Karen is deferring her nomination. Okay,
And I'm
To-
nominating Elaine.
and nominating Elaine. Is
And
there,
Alex agreed.
and Alex agrees. Okay, okay. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay. It's your big moment, Elaine. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. Moving on to rules of procedure, discussion and adoption and discussion of SMC 2.36 and future associate member position. So Emily, do you have a presentation on this for us?
No, other than the staff report that was included.
Okay. Okay, does everybody have that?
Mhm.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this at all?
I was just kind of curious about how it came about. Because I missed the meeting where it was brought up. How was it recommended by somebody or for a special purpose or?
For the rules and procedures or for the
Member position?
member position, so the future associate member position?
Mm-hmm.
So that is, so that's kind of a little bit of a separate issue as far as our updates to our rules and procedure. And then we had discussed adding an associate position. And that would be something that, so we have kind of a two-part thing tonight. We need to look at the revisions for the rules and procedures. And then if we decide to move forward with an associate member position in the future, we would need to change this, change the rules and procedures that we recommend tonight. And for clarity, so the discussion for the associate member position came forward when we interviewed candidates for the commissioner positions that were open. And we had two positions to fill, but we had three very good candidates. And we really felt like it might benefit the commission moving forward if we had somebody that if we, that came, that we could essentially move, have ready to move into a commission position if one became available suddenly, like if a commissioner needed to resign. Of course, it wouldn't be a guarantee that that person would just move into that position, but moving forward with what we've got on our plate as far as the comprehensive plan review and, some stuff that's going to be pretty in depth. We felt like it might be nice to have another person that was up to date on that. And I guess the best example that I could use, because it wasn't meant to be, the position is not meant to be created for one particular person. That's not what, like for one individual. But it was kind of brought up, on a couple boards that I sit on and also the mayor had also talked about this after the interview process. A lot of times there is kind of an extra person there that could potentially move into a position if there's suddenly a resignation or, suddenly somebody can't fill that spot. At least there would be one other person that is up to date on what we've been doing. Does that make sense? I'm kind of talking around a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, everything you said makes sense, to have a potential person ready to be on the plane and up to date with things that's going on. And so it really came out of this last interview process and not previously or.
No.
I can speak a little bit to it.
Yeah.
The Arts Commission does it. They had rewritten their code chapter. They have one. They're a non-voting member, but they attend the meetings. They have subcommittees, so they're a part of the commission, but they just don't vote. And then, like she was saying, if something did open up, then they would have that kind of not guaranteed in, but they would have an in.
Okay.
And they'd know, the commissioners and things.
So it would, if we decide to move forward with that position, it would be a non-voting position, but it would give us the opportunity to have one more voice in the room, so to speak, that is up to date on what we're doing. So they would attend the meetings, they would get the agenda packet, and so. For clarity, the reason why Charisse and Emily wanted to make sure that was included is so that we knew, because we have been working on rules and procedures, that if we decide, which will be a whole nother discussion, and it would be a process to have an associate member position if we create one. But for clarity, it's just more of like, okay, we're approving these or not approving the updates for the rules and procedure, knowing that we will probably have to update them again should this associate member position, come up in 6 months or 8 months, or whatever it is.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And just to add one more thing, it wouldn't just be the rules of procedure that's updated. It's also the SMC chapter that would need to be aligned. So they both have to be updated.
Okay, thank you. And this, the update for the rules and procedures that we've got is, and definitely jump in if you need to, Emily, but, as we've talked in the past, this is more about clearing up the language and making sure that everything that, kind of how we're proceeding right now, the language is correct in the rules and procedures. Do you have anything to add to that? No? Okay.
I would add too that you've been working on it for a long time. And this was for Larry's sake. The Planning Commission has been taking a look at the rules and procedures for a very long time and has suggested some updates even from the time that I joined this group about a year ago, and would like to make those changes. We did talk about the associate member and thought, well, if we get into that discussion, like you said, Julianne, it could be another 6 months down the road. Might as well bring that forward and see if the Planning Commission is interested in moving forward with the update to the chapter 2.6 from or 3.6 from the municipal code, and then your rules and procedures. So that's why it's back on the agenda tonight for your consideration, and for any recommendations to changes or thoughts about that, so we could bring it back to you again. And I know Emily is excited about moving it forward if she can.
Right. And, some of these have been things that, were worked on, pre-COVID, during COVID, kind of after COVID. So it's about kind of getting our code language in line and simplified. So any questions on that at all? Okay. Any discussion?
I did have a question.
Sure.
and I think my mic's on now.
Okay.
This was just on comment CD1. It's open-ended at the end, and I don't know that it was ever answered, was what a good cause would be and for removal of a commission member. And I don't know if you've run this by legal counsel or not, but just cause might remove the subjective of what's good or not, removal for other cause. In corporate America, that is often the wording.
Mhm.
Okay. What section is that?
D.
Okay.
Exhibit A, page 1 of 3.
Page 1 of 3.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have?
This is a difficult, this whole thing is difficult for me because the discussion was probably 3 months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. And I can remember Dan chiming in on this particular sentence and can't remember what he talked about. But there was some deletion and some, so it's hard, it's really difficult when the time frame between the discussion and the process of approval or not approval, when there's a gap of 3 or 4 months in between. As one of the older members, the memory starts to fade about what the discussion was about. I guess I should have went back and listened to the last meeting, but I didn't. So I don't know. I don't know what was talked about then. I don't really remember.
If you like, we can pull together the old agenda item along with this one and bring it back to you at the next meeting. That way you have a little more time to digest what changes have been proposed. We can do a staff report that summarizes for you as well.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like that. And I also would like clarity on one thing, and then I'll turn my mic off. I did notice, let's see, this would be on page 2, under powers and duties. And that the first paragraph there, about our powers and duties, and the last portion was added as brought forward by staff. We had a joint meeting with the city council where they encouraged us to bring forward our ideas to them. And we had a discussion during that meeting regarding what the avenue and vehicle of that could be. Is this kind of an outcome of that discussion? That if we have something we think is important, we relay it through you or through the city council liaison person, or I don't know if you remember that discussion or not.
I remember the discussion clearly. Let's see. Let me read through the section B real quick.
Yeah, there's an as brought forward by staff on that one as well in item number 1, which is hard to read because it's in yellow.
We can go back and review that. I don't know, Emily, do you know if this was updated since the time of that meeting or if this has been on hold since that before that meeting?
It's been on hold, yep. But there were some things that were changed. I'm not sure if that was one of them or not. So we'll have to look back at that.
Is there a way you would like it to change the way that it's read?
I don't think we ever came up with a good vehicle for that, but I clearly remember them asking us for our ideas. So, it seems a little premature to approve all of this or have long discussions about it when we're trying to remember what was said then and what the old one, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note, normally this powers and duties section is reflective of the RCW language, and that's what the intent is for there. And I agree. I think we can go back and give you some more summary statements if you're having problems remembering. I'm sure others are, and I think probably Larry and Dennis in the future would appreciate the summary when you are considering the changes. So we can go back to the drawing board and come up with that information for you at the next meeting.
Okay. I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think with the new commissioner that we have and the potential, another new one, that it'd be good.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. We'll do that.
Okay. Does anybody, thank you for that, Jeff. Does anybody have any other discussion on that? So looks like a motion was recommended, but I'm feeling that we are going to forego that tonight in lieu of having some more information and summaries presented to us. Does everybody feel good about that? Okay. Is there anything else that anybody would like to contribute to that? If there's more information that they would like to have for that? No?
Well, I said I'd turn off my mic, but I lied. We also talked about, and there's nothing on here about it, about an onboarding process and a list of things for a new commissioner to be aware of, or helpful websites or whatever it was. I don't know that we officially made that a motion and passed, but I still think that's a germane item. Or maybe we talked about it as not being proper in rules and procedures, that it was just going to occur at the staff level for a new commissioner. I can't remember. It's been a while.
I can't remember either, Jeff, but we can look back at that. But just to let you know, we are preparing those documents. So
Okay.
We do have a toolbox on the Planning Commissioner page on our website at the bottom.
Okay. Turning my mic off now.
Okay. Okay.
And I will say it has been very helpful.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are moving on to the director's report. So, and we have under the director's report an update on the moratorium on applications and permits for redevelopment of mobile home and manufactured home parks.
yes. So for tonight, we have a brief update and a summary, actually a presentation from Kim Mahoney, our principal consultant with LDC. And since the last meeting, we've been digesting your feedback. And so Kim will give you kind of a summary of the work we've been doing so far, with the intent to come back at the second meeting in January with even more information to share and some more detail to involve you in. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim. She's online, and we're going to change the lighting a little bit in the room.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Kim, thank you for joining us, and we're ready when you are.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate Sharice's introduction. She did describe my presentation as brief, which feels like a challenge and one that I'm happy to accept, and I'll do my very best. I will share my screen.
Maybe I should have said summary, Kim. Brief being less than an hour.
Okay, I can do that. Okay, can everybody hear and see me?
Yes.
Okay. Or I guess I should have said hear me and see the screen, but I think that we're probably there. Okay. Thank you for having me tonight at the first meeting in January. It's great to be here, to be able to see, be a part of the chair and vice chair being elected, and to spend the first meeting of the new year to be able to discuss this important matter. We're here tonight just to be able to give a bit of a summary on the work that we've done so far on the moratorium for mobile home parks and manufactured home parks in Sequim. And my understanding is that we have one or two new planning commissioners today, either seated or in the audience. And so I'll just give a brief, little bit of an overview and a background of how it is that we got to where we are today with this matter, and then dive into, as Sharice described, a bit of the work that we've been doing in the last month since our last meeting with the Planning Commission. In August of 2023, Sequim passed an ordinance 2023-014, and that ordinance was the moratorium on applications for development or redevelopment of manufactured home parks and mobile home parks in Sequim. And that was an effort to be able to take the time that is necessary for Sequim to explore how it is that it can adopt and address of a need for affordable housing in its community and preservation of mobile home parks. Those needs are they are very real in the community, but they're also driven by a recent state legislature passed by the House and by the Senate over the course of the last couple of years that require the governing communities and cities in the entire state of Washington to be able to provide for affordable housing options and preservation of mobile home parks in their communities. The moratorium is in effect for 6 months, and so that puts us at effective through February 14th of 2024. So we will be at City Council next month likely requesting a 6-month extension of the moratorium, so that way we can continue to do our due diligence and engage with the Planning Commission, the City Council, and the general public with our recommendations for how to move forward addressing this. We were here last month giving an overview of what we had distilled down to be 5 options for how it is that Sequim could address the preservation of mobile home parks in its community. And those 5 options are listed here on this screen. The direction that we took last month from the Planning Commission was twofold. One, we were asked to further explore what it would look like to implement options 1, 2, 3, and 5. And the second was a general discussion, but it was direction for staff to recognize the terms that are oftentimes used in the discussion of mobile home parks and manufactured home parks, and sometimes used interchangeably, and maybe not appropriately so. To be able to explore those terms and whether the result of this moratorium addresses each of those terms, or what it is limited to, so that way any resulting new ordinance or code amendment or any of that is clear in its address of what is being governed by new resulting regulations. And so to that end, what you'll see now is a rather cumbersome list of terms that we've been compiling in the conversation of mobile home parks and manufactured home parks. And this list is, maybe a third of the list that we have compiled, but is what can fit on the screen. This is really just to be able to convey the depth of the research that staff is undertaking for this important endeavor. Our terms that we have gone about researching include manufactured home, mobile home, modular home, motorhome, tiny homes, recreational vehicles, park models, park trailers, dwelling units, mobile home park, manufactured home park. And so we've compiled this list of how it is, of what those terms are, the terms that are often used in the conversation around mobile home parks, but also how the terms are defined either in their existing state in the Sequim Municipal Code, or also how they're defined in the RCW and in 3 neighboring communities, and that's Port Townsend, Port Angeles, and Paulsbo. And so what we have right now is just kind of a data hub of all of these different terms and their definitions. Our next intention is to be able to kind of distill down from these lists what is consistent among how a term is defined in the neighboring community and by the state, and then compile what we believe to be an appropriate address of the term's definition for adoption in Sequim's municipal code, and bring that suggestion or recommendation to the Planning Commission for further deliberation. The next thing that we've done is dive into a little bit more research on how it is that options 1, 2, 3, and 5 can be implemented by staff. And so those options begin with option 1, the comprehensive plan amendment. And again, really what we've done to this point is to be able to explore how it is that the very breadth of how it is that each of the options could be implemented by Sequim, and then just kind of housed it all into a number of slides and some deliverables to be able to further explore later after we've been able to kind of condense all of the content. What you see right now is a goal and policy that is currently implemented in Chapter 6 of Sequim's comprehensive plan, and that's the housing element. And the housing chapter does provide presently a goal and a policy for affordable housing. And so one effort is to think about one effort that's been undertaken by other communities in Washington state is to consider potentially either revising their existing goals and policies in the comprehensive plan or adding to the goals and policies in the comprehensive plan. As just a general note, a goal is adopted by a comprehensive plan, excuse me, and its policies are intended to be examples of how that goal is undertaken or carried forward in a community. And so on these next few slides, what you'll see is the existing goals and policies currently adopted in the comprehensive plan, and then either some suggested revisions that could be considered for adoption, or some considered or some drafted new goals that could be considered. And so right here we have, an expansion, the revised goal 6.2 is just an expansion on the existing goal 6.2, but it includes a provision for the preservation of mobile home parks. Another option would be to revise the goal to be a lot more broad, so that way it specifies that regulations and programs should be supported and adopted to be able to support housing affordable to very low and moderate income households in general. And that would address both mobile home parks and their preservation and other forms of affordable housing in the community. Or we could go about, leaving goal 6.2 the way that it is right now and introducing a new goal into the comprehensive plan specific to the preservation of mobile home parks. And that's the draft new goal 6.5. I'll note that there's a little bit more on this later, but the drafted new goal 6.5 right here is verbatim from the comprehensive plan amendments that were made in the city of Bellingham, which recently undertook some efforts in amendments to their comprehensive plan and zoning ordinances to address the preservation of mobile home parks in their community. Again, policies are what implement goals in a comprehensive plan. And so what we see at the top is the existing goal in terms of affordable housing, and then some suggested or drafted new policies that we will kind of consider together as a staff team offline, and then distill down what we believe is appropriate to be recommended. This last slide right here includes both the new goal and the new policy that was incorporated by the city of Bellingham and could similarly be incorporated in the city of Sequim. Option 2 was an address of how it was that the zoning code, Title 18 in the Sequim Municipal Code, could be adjusted to address either a new zone or a zone overlay, or just adopt amended zoning code language to be able to speak to the preservation of mobile home parks. And so these next couple of slides, again, just go about describing each of those options and providing a little bit of distinction between how the options differ and what their benefits and challenges are. So we can see here that as an example, we could move forward with either a new zone or a zone overlay, and it could be dubbed the mobile home and manufactured home park or the manufactured home park overlay. Excuse me. These are distinct features. A zone would be, an entire dedicated zone with its own ordinance. You could consider the planning commission, city council thereafter, and staff could consider rezoning each of the parcels that are presently developed and occupied by existing mobile home parks and manufactured home parks, and limiting the expanse of that zone to those areas that are already developed. That sort of solution would provide for the preservation of mobile home parks, but not necessarily for their development, unless the zone was applied to other areas of the city that were undeveloped or could be developed with those sorts of uses. It would require the comprehensive plan land use designation to be adjusted to reflect a land use designation that is consistent with the new zone that is created. And so it does come with the potential limitation of manufactured home parks being allowed only in the zone that is intended for mobile home parks. And so again, would perpetuate their preservation, but not necessarily their new development. A zone overlay is a bit different. It applies holistically to the city or to a large area throughout the city. It generally requires far less amendments to the existing zoning code that's adopted in Sequim, because there's generally in an overlay a statement within the new chapter that is added to the Sequim Municipal Code via ordinance that specifies that in any instance of disagreement between the underlying zone and the zone overlay, the regulations in the zoning overlay prevail. And so it doesn't require staff to go in and address each chapter of the municipal code and plug in the adjustments that are necessary driven by a new zone. Instead, it would just be that the overlay's new chapter of the Sequim's municipal code would govern all of the regulating features of preservation of mobile home parks. Another option, I'm sorry, this is a list of outstanding research and collaboration needs that we have identified as still needing to be able to explore together as a staff in the implementation of a new zone or zone overlay. So we're just, again, an acknowledgement that we have research to be able to do and answers to come prepared to discuss with the Planning Commission before we go thinking about things like recommendations for what is a reasonable and effective implementable approach for the city of Sequim. Again, the last effort in option 2 is to consider an amendment to the zoning code, and this would be an option where a new zone is not created, a new zoning overlay is not created. Instead, each chapter of Title 18 in Sequim's municipal code would be revised or considered for revisions that are necessary to be able to make pointed adjustments in favor of the preservation of mobile home parks. Excuse me. And so that could mean that each zone that presently is developed with mobile home parks requires amendments to be able to describe the allowed uses and the regulations and standards, development standards that are associated with those uses being made in each of those chapters. This would likely result in the most revisions needed to the Sequim Municipal Code within Title 18. And inherently in that creates more opportunity for inconsistencies to be created throughout the code. It's just a very careful process would have to be implemented. Option 3 was that of the tenant opportunity to purchase ordinance. This was one option that we brought last month, and at the time we were unable to locate local examples in Washington State of how a topo, or sometimes referred to as a TOPA, was implemented into a local code. But we had a very helpful member of the public offer insight in the public comment, and allowed me to be able to do a little bit more research and locate that in the community of College Place, Washington, there was an adopted ordinance in 2021 that did provide for a tenant opportunity to purchase ordinance. Looking a little bit more into that, staff has done enough due diligence and research into the matter to be able to recognize that there is likely some state law that's been adopted since 2021 that no longer allows for cities to incorporate by ordinance anything that would attempt to govern certain sections of the RCW that are applicable to the conversation of a topo. And that RCW language is included in red on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see that in communities like College Place, Washington, that have already adopted this language before May 1st of 2023, that they're okay to be able to continue to have that language implemented and administered by their code. But after May 1st, 2023, the state has made it illegal for other communities in Washington to be able to adopt those sorts of measures. And so this is still yet to be discussed with the city's legal counsel, but is likely, based off of our interpretation of this language, likely no longer an option for our further consideration. And we'll formalize that and fact check that before our next conversation with the Planning Commission. And finally, we were asked to dig a little bit deeper into option 5. And option 5 was inclusive of different third-party resources that could be used to be able to assist in the purchase of mobile home parks, to be able to, that are intended to be able to either preserve the mobile home park via ownership from a third party, or to perpetuate or encourage and promote the ownership of the mobile home park by its residents. And so those efforts are sometimes carried out by city housing authorities or by nonprofit preservation organizations or resident-owned communities. And so we've done a little bit of research into the Peninsula Housing Authority. They are an existing housing authority that already engage in these sorts of homeownership housing programs in Clallam and Jefferson County. And so we could reach out to the Peninsula Housing Authority to explore with them how it is that they could be incorporated into this kind of effort in Sequim as well. We could also do a little bit more research into the potential for Sequim to have its own housing authority. And Sequim's own housing authority would be a newly established entity. To learn more about how we could go about establishing a new housing authority, it's recommended that we would undertake interviews with other communities like Tacoma and King County and Peninsula area to be able to explore how it is that they established their housing authority and how it is that they're governed and funded as well. We also did a little bit more research into nonprofit preservation organizations. There's one really prominent organization called the Manufactured Housing Community Preservationists, and they've been established since 1992 as a result of the mobile home pilot conversion project in King County. And their entire structure of their organization is intended to be able to either serve sellers of manufactured home parks. They have some quoted language right here from their website that promotes that they are here to be able to serve community owners who want to sell their community, but want to see it go towards an organization or some sort of solution that will certainly preserve the housing option of mobile home parks for their community's needs. And also to be able to serve residents of mobile home park communities who are concerned that their mobile home park is going to be sold or closed and then redeveloped into some sort of other use. And so this organization is one that could be reached out to be able to either garner some sort of aid or maybe provide a resource as an element of new regulations that are adopted by SCWIM. And then finally, there's a opportunity to be able to think about resident buybacks and resident-owned communities, or ROCs for short. These organizations are what are referred to as co-ops, and they provide opportunities for the residents of mobile home parks to actually become the owners of their homes and the land that the homes are sited on. And so there's a few organizations listed down here at the bottom of this slide that are known to either provide technical assistance for helping community residents within mobile home parks to learn about how it is that they can go about engaging in ownership of the actual home and land that their home is sited on. And then also ROC USA and ROC Northwest and the Washington State Housing Finance Commission are helpful in being able to provide actual financing and work. They partner with each other to be able to provide financing options in those sorts of circumstances. Moving forward, as we've discussed, our hope is to be able to continue researching in more depth these options of 1, 2, 3, and 5, and distilling some of those terms and their definitions, and then bringing a little bit more of that distilled research and hopefully some recommended approaches to the Planning Commission. And then continue to just engage in an iterative process with the Planning Commission and our own staff, and then of course with the general public. With that, I am done with my presentation. I'm glad to take any comments or questions that the Planning Commission may have.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for your work on this. Does anybody have any of the commissioners have any questions for Kim at this time? Larry Hewitt, our newest commissioner, has
Yeah, Kim,
some questions.
I am brand new to the meeting. Could you just tell me, as part of your analysis and your recommendation, do you assess the efficiency of each and our resources within the city of Sequim to implement each of those recommendations?
Welcome, and thank you for your question, Commissioner. Efficiency isn't something that has been a part of my research, and I might ask for a little bit more clarity on your question in terms of most of these excuse me, most of these options generally incorporate, I would say, a similar degree of effort in that it would require a comprehensive plan amendment and a zoning ordinance adjustment or edit, revision, collaboration and engagement with the community and with the Department of Commerce, a SEPA checklist. I mean, there's a lot of that is listed right here, actually. So in terms of the administrative steps that go towards implementing many of them, they are largely the same. It's just a matter of being able to incorporate what our collaboration with the community and the Planning Commission and City Council believe is appropriate for the direction and vision of SCWIM. And so I suppose that really the answer is that from an efficiency perspective, the administrative role that goes into any of these options is largely consistent. Perhaps with the notable exception of, I don't know how to form a housing authority yet, but if that, then I can answer that question better next time.
I would add to that, Kim, too, that Larry, when you talk about efficiency, you probably also are thinking about new lines of business for the city or what type of lift or commitment you would have in that respect. And I think that is part of our review as we dive into it. First, though, we wanted to understand what all these options are and what others are doing. And as we start working in the detail and working towards more recommendations to the Planning Commission for consideration, I think that one of the things we'll consider is, how heavy of a lift is that for a city of this size and what that impact is on staff as well, too.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Any other questions? Alex?
Yes, in considering the manufactured home park overlay. I was wondering why it's necessary to have the overlay possibly going over all zones, including light industrial, high tech, downtown, and commercial. Is just residential 4 through 8. Does that include enough of the areas for future preservation or creation of new mobile home parks?
I would say that it would not, because there are zones presently developed in the city of Sequim other than the R4 through 8 zone, and that are developed with mobile home parks, and those zones would also be likely appropriate for the overlay to apply.
Okay, so there's exceptions already existing.
Correct.
I see.
And even the downtown zone is one example of a relatively commercial, intended to be commercial district within the city of Sequim, but it's developed with mobile home parks.
Right. I can think of a few right now. Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, so I have a question for you, Kim. So you said at the beginning that more than likely we're going to be requesting an extension on the moratorium, and that'll give you more time to look at these options, and then would kind of the next step be that you would come back with a little bit more information. And I mean, I might be getting ahead of myself, but maybe ask for a commitment in narrowing down the research options or the options. Is that
I think
correct?
Yes, Chair, I think that's certainly correct. I don't know that that would happen in 2 weeks at the next meeting, but I think
Okay.
that our effort to be able to request an extension beyond the 6 months ending in February is that we do need to get to that point of distilling the options that we want to actually implement, and then go about drafting how those solutions would be implemented with actual ordinances. And then the administrative processes that follow are simply, they can be timely. Drafting the materials, most certainly probably the lengthiest, the most arduous on a staff perspective, but then having to file SEPA with the Department of Ecology, and then move through the intent to adopt process with the Department of Commerce, hold a hearing, and then move forward with the City Council. They're just timely processes that require a little bit more time than what we have.
Okay, thank you.
And we will ask for the extension at the January 26th City Council meeting as our initial go of that. We want to make sure that we have a few days, and the first meeting in February is on the 12th, so that's pretty close to the 14th. So just like that cushion.
Okay, thanks. And then for clarity, that would be extended for 6 more months from
From the
February
14th.
14th.
Yeah, and so one of the requirements that Kim and I will work on is it's required to show your work plan, and we've already got that pretty much going. So we'll summarize for council and ask for an extension with the work plan that we have in order. And we do hope to bring a little bit more forward in 2 weeks to you. But as you can see, we're trying to dive deep and really get into the work. And then Kim and I would like to bring something back that is digestible for all of you all. So we want to vet a few of those ideas and think about what makes sense for Sequim and come back.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anybody, yes, Jeff?
Just one clarification, Kim, if you don't mind. This is Jeff Carter. On this slide that's up there right now for the research of 1, 2, 3, 5, I may have misunderstood, but isn't option 3 a no-go? The option for a resident to buy?
Not necessarily no, there is still an option for a resident to be able to buy, like through a resident buyback program or some sort of option with the ROC. The topo is the requirement for oftentimes the tenants to be able to have first right of refusal and first right of offer.
Gotcha.
I have interpreted the RCW in that matter to likely mean that option 3 is no longer an option, but that's not been confirmed from Sequim's legal counsel yet, and that would probably be an important part of the due diligence before we determine for sure that it can't be pursued.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. And yes, Eileen.
Thanks for all this work. I patted Sharice on the back today, said, what are we going to do? She said, we got some good things going. And I agree. So if we do get another 6 months added to this project, the moratorium, then how is that going to fit nicely as the comprehensive plan updates going on? We won't have to.
So we'll have to go about working with SCJ Alliance and letting them know, hey, this is a parallel process that we're currently going through. We'll need to go through the update process in alignment. But I don't anticipate that it will impact tremendously the final language or even part of the language. I don't think we're going to get that far along in the comp plan by the time this would be due. But they will be aware of it. We'll share with them.
Okay. Just,
Okay.
if we could get it all done at once and right. Magic wand, that's all you need. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much, Kim, for coming and giving us this presentation. It was
You're
very
welcome.
informative.
Yes, absolutely. You're welcome. I'll stay here on the call to be able to assist with interim controls when they're discussed on the agenda.
Okay, well, that's up next.
Okay, great.
All right, so thanks. So we have interim controls regarding chapter 17.32.110, 2 access points required. And looks like we have Kim Mahoney here to give us a presentation on that.
Well, Kim's not going to give a presentation
Okay.
today for that. No, Kim, wait, didn't you get that PowerPoint I asked for? No, this one is actually a quick update. To be honest with you, we're working on interim controls, but we have prioritized manufactured home parks. It's farther along in the process, but we're working on it. One thing that we intend to do is work with Transpo Group. They work with our engineering team, and we've been discussing the concept of understanding what connectivity really means from our comprehensive plan and how that translates into, transportation planning, transportation management, and engineering. And we think we can utilize them to help do some analysis and make some recommendations for what that might mean for that chapter of the code. And Nick has a meeting later this week to discuss with Transpo Group some of those options. So Kim, I don't have anything more to add. If you have anything, please take the mic, but we were trying to do a brief update for IC today.
Yes, I hear you, and I concur that it may remain brief. I have nothing to add.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, then we will look forward to hearing about that in the future. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Chair. Good night,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have the SCJ Alliance Comprehensive Plan contract update.
Yes. So the news for that is we have, the final signature is on Matt's desk as of 2:00 this afternoon. So we should have a finalized agreement with them. And the next steps forward will be to sit down with Bill Grimes with SCJ and discuss the work program that we will be identifying everything from the growth management, Department of Commerce checklist, putting together our public engagement plan and start working towards getting the process moving. So that also brings into alignment some grants that we have applied for and received, but we have to finalize the agreements with them as well. So it's all moving forward, and we hope to be bringing Bill in. I don't know if we'll be ready by the end of this month, but hopefully early next month to start talking about comprehensive planning with the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on that at all before we move forward with the planning calendar? No? Okay. All right, planning calendar. Is there anything, Emily or Sharice, that you have to add to this?
Only if Emily wants to bring it up just to kind of present what the planning calendar is for Larry and others, and just kind of show what's on the list right now, and if you want to add anything to it or have any questions about where we are with any of it.
I do want to say the first one got knocked off. The land acknowledgement is officially on the agenda. So congratulations, you all. But as you can see here, this is just what we've talked about last time. And if you have anything else to add, I'm happy to add it.
Okay, thank you. So these are, so to give you a little history, we had a section on our agenda, and this is for you, Larry, that had like things that we wanted to discuss. And they weren't necessarily like, new items or even old items. They were things that were important to the commission that we wanted to make sure that they were still relevant. So it started while we were in COVID. And so some of the agenda items were on there in kind of this space where, it was just, they were just kind of there floating. And so we wanted to make sure that that things that were important to us were still, relative, but we also wanted to make sure that for clarity for the community that, when they appeared on the agenda, there's a couple times where members of the community would come in thinking that we were going to be discussing it. And then we weren't, and so we moved to this, which is the planning commission calendar, which are things that are important to us. They're either things that we are working on right now or things that are important to us that's going to be on here. And then once we have like a time frame or a date, we'll add that on there. But it's a way for us to keep those items relevant without having a gummed up agenda. And any commissioner that has something during, like the good of the order that they can bring up and say, hey, I'd really like to see this be on the calendar. And then we can discuss it as a commission and deem it worthy or not worthy for the calendar. Sure. Anything else on that? No? Okay. Oh, yes.
Any updates on the PC toolbox?
So I can show you what I have on the website. It's kind of a mix of things that you all have told me and things that Sharice has told me. So I'll stop sharing that and share the website so you all can see. Okay. So this is the Planning Commission homepage, for lack of a better word. If you scroll all the way down there, I named it Planning Commission Toolbox, and it has links to our comp plan, master plans, on-demand webinars that are from MRSC, Planning Association, Public Records Act, short course on local planning, building codes, and the APA, but in no particular order other than I think it's alphabetized, but that doesn't matter. But that's a good place to start, just based on some discussions that we've had, and then I can add more. Should you want more on there? But that's where it is for now, and I might put it on iCompass as well once we go there.
And I have been using it diligently for 2 days.
Awesome. Happy to hear that.
Okay. Anything else on that?
That's a great place for it.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Do you have anything else on the director's report, Sharice? Okay. Oh, you do.
Just one more thing. I just
Okay.
wanted to welcome Georgia Bullard. She's with the youth liaison group from the city council. So she's one of 2 new youth liaisons starting in November of 2023. She's a senior here and has opted to join us tonight because she's bored because they're out of school for this week. But Georgia, just welcome if you want to say a few words from those. Nope. Okay. Well, thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes. Okay, great. So I wanted to, well, do you have anything else for your director's report before I move on to
Nope,
go to
I'm
the
good.
order?
Thank you.
Okay. So I know that, so we'll move on to go to the order, and I wanted to just kind of update everybody briefly. I know that we all have received the emails, but we've officially gotten the resignation from Dan Butler, which we were expecting for his new role on the city council, which is pretty awesome. And then I think that everybody also has been told that Ann Hall has submitted her resignation. And so we have our newest commissioner here tonight, Larry Hewitt, who, so welcome.
Thank you.
And I was going to invite you to say a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself if you'd like.
I kept my bio very brief, but it is, I've been a resident of Sequim since 2009 when my wife and I moved here during the Great Recession. I had a job opportunity in Port Angeles and everyone told me settle in Sequim, and they were right. My wife fell in love with this city within about 15 minutes and told me it was too far to drive to Port Angeles to meet me for lunch during work. So we have just loved this city. My background is 40 years in financial services. Up here, I was the CEO of First Federal in Port Angeles for about 8 or 9 years when we went public. And I'm officially retired, and this is our forever home. And this is where we're going to be. And I thank you for the opportunity to join you here to help with the planning for the city. There are a lot of challenges, but this is a great place, and I just appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Larry. We're happy to have you on the commission. And I also wanted to kind of let everybody know as well that with Ann's resignation, it came, fairly quickly. And because of that, and because we had just completed the interview process and we had 3 eligible candidates, because of the time frame and because of the time of year and when the city council was going to be getting those recommendations, we were able to invite our 3rd applicant to see if he wanted to be recommended for the vacant spot that we had. And he was very excited. His name is Dennis. He's in the room tonight.
Oh.
And so Dennis will be, he'll be before the city council at their next meeting for his recommendation for his appointment to the planning commission. And Dennis has, I'll let him introduce himself, hopefully next meeting, but he's got a lot of good stuff to contribute on this commission. So we're happy for that moving forward. So that's kind of a little update on what the planning commission is probably going to look like, next meeting.
And I'll add just for Dennis's sake that it will be on the consent agenda, so you don't have to prepare a 40-minute presentation or anything for city council.
Yeah. So does anybody have anything else for good of the order?
Oh, yeah, you mentioned 3 candidates had been interviewed for the 2 positions. Are you going to name the 3rd one?
Eileen.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see.
and
She
so
was the
she's
3rd.
already-
was
yeah.
up,
Got
so
it.
she had,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So she was
Yes.
reappointed.
Okay.
So
Oh,
You didn't get the word?
okay. Of course.
so it was Eileen and Larry and
Yeah.
Dennis
So
that we
everyone's
interviewed.
accommodated, aren't they?
So yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So which was I think it's a good thing.
Great.
So I have a question because I'm always confused about this. Maybe I should just look at the website ones, but who is a city representative and who is a
Oh,
Sequim
yes.
School District representative?
Right.
I'm a Sequim School District representative.
Alex,
I'm
And-
city.
Okay, us
Eileen,
three and then the other
Larry,
four.
city.
Okay.
City.
Your city? Okay, great.
Are you county or city? You're county, aren't you? Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
We used to have in the ordinance and in the rules and procedures a term called City Council Planning Liaison. And I don't see it anywhere. We used to have a council person who would come in. Could you find where that term is and what happened to it?
Would it be, so at the first meeting in at the city council, they make motion to be liaisons to different boards and commissions. And currently yours is Tom Farrell. And I need to see the agenda item to see if that is still what they're proposing, because I know in the past they wanted to cut down on different board and commission services. So I think it's still on there, but I would need to check with Amy, our city clerk, to see if it's still there. But in the first meeting, like I said, of city council each year, they make those appointments to the different boards and commissions.
But in the rules and procedures and in the ordinances, the term used to exist, but
Mm.
I don't find it. So
Okay.
I'm asking where it was. if
I
you
don't
can-
know where it went, Karen, but we can look into it.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have anything else for the good of the order? Yes, Eileen.
There was, what date is it? December 9th paper, and they, City of Port Angeles was bragging about their construction fee waves and their housing types. I mean, it's quite an article. And I think it would be nice for the city as we progress and are doing more and more for affordable housing with fees and things. We should get Matthew in here, do an article about all the good things Sequim is doing for affordable housing. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Since
I think that's a great
Eileen
idea.
is bringing up Port Angeles articles. There was an article just a few days ago on short-term rentals. Port Angeles completed its study, and it was a good article to get up to date on what's going on with I guess the urban growth area really is what it is. So if you haven't seen it, look it up.
Okay, thank you. And that's in the Peninsula Daily News?
Mhm.
Okay, just a few days ago. Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else for good of the order? No? Wow, it's almost record time, guys.
Well, I always have questions I can ask.
You do.
No, as a relative newbie, okay. When you see revised drafts and you see the word shall replaced with will, could someone describe the difference between will and shall legally?
So I know that in every ordinance that we've updated since I've known Christina, she's removed the word shall and either placed the word must or will and I think, I don't know the reason why other than maybe it's clearer. In legal terms, I don't know. I'm not an attorney and I don't play one at night either.
Okay. Oh, yes. Good. I just wanted to hear that clearly. That's what I'd heard too, but I was wondering if there was more definition on that.
I'm glad I can learn from you guys too.
Well, and that's come up more than once or twice in our meetings when we're looking at revisions. And the Planning Commission has more often than not asked for that clarity,
Yeah.
asked, for rather than an intention, because an intention can be perceived as more than one outcome, that it be a directive, like Jeff had mentioned.
Yeah, okay. Okay, another question. I'm not sure this is the right place for it, but in the our ongoing struggles with the small setbacks, the tiny driveways, the narrow streets, and problems in an HOA, especially of tenant parking, who as tenants seem less likely to want to follow the rules. The Sequim ordinance told my HOA that we'd post signs that anyone obstructing sidewalks, their vehicles would be towed at owner's expense. In inquiring with Evergreen, they're not giving new contracts to additional HOAs for them to kind of be on call for those HOAs. You even have to, if they were available, you even have to rent their signs for $10 each. And then you have to put forward $275 on the call up front, the complainant, I guess, because so many cars are not picked up. And Evergreen seemed pretty stretched by being mandated by law to bring in all the car crashes from the state patrol, and they don't seem to have enough disposal means of those vehicles and all the rest. Anyway, it came down to it's not as easy a thing for an HOA to impound improperly parked vehicles as one might think, unless this may be a second company or whatever. Anyway, I wanted to mention this, that we've kind of got ongoing battles with owners who are not informing tenants of restrictions on their property and driveways and all the rest. I'm very sorry to be on an HOA board. Yes, don't advise anyone. Anyway, I don't know if this is the place for that, and I'm open to any brilliant solutions.
I wish I could give you a brilliant solution, but it's not going to happen today. But I do know that, where I work, it is private property. It's not a public parking lot. And if somebody dumps a vehicle and we want to have it towed, yeah, they want the money up front, because I guess it's not uncommon for people to just leave a vehicle and let it get towed because it's easy. So that's all I got for you, Alex. I wish I could offer you a solution, but it's not my wheelhouse tonight.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for? Okay. All right. Then we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is adjournment. Do we have and just let you know, Larry, this is Karen's favorite agenda item.
So don't step on it.
Well, I haven't figured out if she likes us saying that or not, but it is her. I'm just following from the past chair, Commissioner Carter, to make sure to bring that up every time. So do we?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor to adjourn, please raise your hand. All right, thank you. Meeting adjourned at 6:49. Thank you.
Thank you.